what was your journey like and why'd you take it?
I had my daughter 6 years ago, and she is a pandemic baby. She turned two the second week of lockdown. And I was like, great, I can homeschool. I've always wanted to homeschool. This is wonderful. And so I tried all these different homeschooling methods, and nothing I wanted worked. And so I gave her a very Montessori-esque type material, and it kept her quiet. And you know my daughter, she likes to talk a lot. And so anything that kept her quiet for a while, I was like, let's kind of look at this. And so I just did some research about Montessori. And the more that I found out about her and her life, which is amazing, and then about her method, I was like, this is good teaching. This is what we want to teach our students. Why can't we just all do this? And so, as time grew, I was like, well, I was feeling more and more as though Montessori was the way that I wanted to proceed in my teaching journey. I had a student my first year in second grade who could not make progress in math. And I just kept thinking, there's got to be a better way. And as I learned more about Montessori and her method, I said, oh, this is the better way. Uh, so I decided to just look into Montessori a little bit more. One of my late nights with my daughter, I just Googled how to start a school, and Wildflower came up. And I had actually looked into Wildflower about 2 years prior, and I was like, this doesn't sound real. Like, who's just going to give somebody money to start a school? Like, this got to be a scam. But the second time I looked into it, and there was a link for the Mid-Atlantic site. So I went ahead and I wrote you, and I will never forget, it was President's Day weekend. And I wrote on Sunday night, really late, like 11 p.m. And I had an answer from you the next morning at 6 a.m. And we
Definitely not sleeping.
we just started talking, and it just became clear to me like this was my next part of my path. That I really wanted to bring an equitable liberatory education school to Philadelphia. There are very few Black teachers in the country, and then even fewer in cities. And the city of Philadelphia is something like 45% African American, and those students need to see teachers who look like them, and teachers who are committed to them, teachers who want the best for them no matter what. And we're going to be using whatever strategies we can to help them proceed and do well. So that was my motivation for bringing it to Philly.
And congratulations to you because you're doing it and it's wonderful. Can you share a little more about what the African centered values are that Poinciana aims to instill in students?
Sure. So, some of the African center values that we have are communalism, justice, truth, order, and a lot of them actually dovetail very nicely with Montessori.
Mhm.
The values are very similar to what Montessori aims to help us have students bring out in their own learning. And the reason that I chose that is because I was lucky enough to have a mother who was very much into the Black Power movement, and she raised me as such. And she just felt that it was imperative that I knew my history and my ancestors and who I came from, to have pride in who I am and my immediate like journey. So knowing where I came from let me know that these are the people and this is their story, and I have a responsibility to continue that story, and I have the strength and the power to do so because I come from these people. And so being a teacher for, almost 20 years, I have seen how students don't know where they come from. The who has the power is who gets to tell the story, right? And so our story is not often told. And when students get to know that story, when they get to know who they are and where they come from, the change that happens in them is so powerful. Like they go from being hopeless to going, wait, I can do this.
Right.
Now, it's not overnight and it's not immediate and it's not like it still takes a lot of talking, a lot of growth on their end. But it's just amazing to hear the testimonials of students who got this information and how they were able to believe in themselves and have self-efficacy and know that if they put in the effort, they felt like they could go further versus feeling like maybe they were putting in effort, but it wasn't worth anything.
How did you choose Germantown? And when you're speaking about your students, Philadelphia being 45% of identified as African American, Germantown seems like the right community in so many ways. Why Germantown? And can you tell us what a day of your school might look like and some of the things that will bring children to what you say and we all agree as educators is so important?
So, the first part of it, why Germantown? To be honest, when I moved here from Maryland, the school that I worked at is in Germantown. And so I got to know the area pretty well because that's where I was working. Um, I live not too far away, and my daughter was going to school in Chestnut Hill, which is a little bit above Germantown. But I would drive through Germantown and Mount Airy to get to Chestnut Hill, where my daughter was going to school. And just I got to know the people in my community by working there and kind of my daughter being at the other end of it, and having to go through that area. I just got to see the vibrancy that's in that community and also hear from parents who wanted more for their students who weren't necessarily having the opportunities in that area. Also, it's amazing the businesses that are there that dovetail with our values. So I was really excited for that, to be able to work with businesses that have the same values as our school has. In terms of a day in the life at our school starts off with coming to school, making sure that our students' needs are met. So ultimately, we have a wonderful kitchen in our school. And ultimately, we will have our students come in and we will offer breakfast. They do not have to partake in it, but we are offering breakfast for all students. Um, and our offerings, we are hoping to have the flavors of the African diaspora. So, some from Africa, some maybe from the Caribbean, introducing students to new and varied flavors. We will be coordinating with some Black-owned farms in the area, and we will have their agricultural boxes, and whatever we get that week is what we get. So if we get a food that's maybe less familiar to students, we'll be able to cook it in a way where students can try it and see if they like it. And so after breakfast, we'll have time for affirmations and learning a little bit more about some um, proverbs and how we
Mm-hmm.
can apply that to our lives. Some public speaking in the sense of encouraging students to speak out in a small group, so in their class and their class meetings. And then after that, we will have the start of our 3-hour work cycle. So they will have a 3-hour work cycle in the morning. And during that time, I will be available, my assistant will be available. We will be there to help guide the students towards what they need to be doing, give lessons, going over work plans. So making sure that students are focusing on what they need to focus on to be successful. Um, I've had a lot of parents concerned because, as we know, in the traditional educational system, sometimes students get left behind. And so, especially in reading. So, a lot of parents have been concerned about that. I have reached out for a partnership with Reading Aloud, and they are willing to have a tutor come to our school to provide services for students at the school. They have a sliding scale as well. And so it is an extra service, but they're working with us so that it can be affordable for any student that needs it.
That is
Um,
wonderful. Amani, quick, a couple things. Are you mentioned sliding scale, and I'd love to chat about that. But I also, do I remember that you're going to be having Swahili as part of your program?
yes.
That's
So
fabulous. Can you like tell us a little bit about that? I want to come to school. Can I be a first grader again?
So in the afternoons, we're also providing lunch and snack for students. In the afternoons, twice a week, we will have a teacher who is in Africa who will be teaching our students Swahili.
Wow,
The program that we're going through feels that it is very important that the teachers still be in the country and in the culture so they can bring all aspects of the culture, like not only history, but current things that are happening. So that's why the teacher is will be in Africa. I'm not sure of the country. Usually it's Tanzania or Zanzibar, but from a Swahili speaking country. And they will have Swahili 30 to 45 minutes, 2 times a week. The reasoning for that is we're working for students to be able to have to test for the global seal of biliteracy by the time they leave the school. And so they should be able to hit the minimum level for that. We're hoping to go to like the next level though.
that's wonderful. Congratulations. That's so very exciting. And can you tell us a little bit? You said, the schools in Germantown are expensive for many families to access. How will your school be more affordable for families?
Right. So we have a sliding scale. We look at parents' financial documents, and actually, I partner with Blackbaud Financial Services. So it's not me making the decision, but what they'll do is they'll take the parents' financial documents and any statements that the parents have. So I've had parents saying, you know what, I'm going through a divorce right now. So although my financial documents may say one thing, the reality is this is the reality of it. And so they'll take all of that information into account and they'll say, this is what we believe this family can pay to access your school. I've also been blessed to have some grants this year. So I had one family where they just asked for a little bit of additional help this year because of something going on in the family. So the grants did allow me to defray a little bit of their cost for this year, with the understanding of when the situation resolves itself, they will continue paying at the level that they're able to pay.
Can you tell us why Montessori for elementary school children, what makes sense and why it's so beneficial?
Yes. So actually, there has been a lot of research done, especially longitudinal research, that has shown that Montessori helps close what we used to call the achievement gap for students. So it has addressed the disparities in income and race across all students and in all areas. Students who have gone to Montessori schools for a high quality Montessori school for at least 1 year have wound up with higher math and language skills that meet or exceed state benchmarks every year. Also, it helps them have long-term academic and socio-emotional benefits like better executive functioning skills. They're better able to organize their time. They're better able to have concentration. They have initiative, which are all skills that people talk about needing for students to be successful in life, not just what we say college now, but college and life. Those are those skills that are so important for students to have. A lot of times parents get concerned about how am I going to know how my student is doing? We will have testing at our school to make sure that students are on track, to make sure that they are, as we said, meeting or exceeding those state benchmarks. So parents don't have to be concerned that students are just doing what they want in the school. We are looking at what students are able to do. We're encouraging them to go further at their level, and we're following them to make sure that they're getting everything that they need so that they can be successful.
Can you explain how a Montessori classroom differs from a traditional classroom?
Sure. So in a traditional classroom, which is what I've done most of my teaching career, we expect all students to know and understand a particular concept pretty much in the same time period. It may vary how we uh approach it in a little bit of a way for a couple of different students in the classroom. That's what we call differentiation. So if we know that students learn hands-on a little bit better, which research has shown, we might have something hands-on for students to do here. If we know that some students retain things better after they've heard it auditorily, we might have them do something different just to help them understand. But all of the students are moving forward in the same time period. If my goal is to have the students learn double-digit subtraction, I have these 4 weeks to teach it. This is what I'm doing within these 4 weeks. If the students don't get it within those 4 weeks, or I assess at the end of the 4 weeks and I say, okay, these students got it. If the students don't get it within those 4 weeks, I may be able to go back and reteach to certain students and then assess them again. I may not. I may have to just be like, okay, in this next part, I am going to have to slow it down for the students that didn't get it, do something a little bit different. And then the students who did get it, I'm going to have to try and advance them in a different area. But it's not really going at that student's pace and at their level. It's not really going at the student's pace and at their level. It is
So in Montessori, you do it how? So what's the difference in Montessori? How do
in
we make sure everybody gets their math skills?
Yes. So in Montessori, I'm looking at that particular child. So if I have Lily in my classroom, I'm not looking at in first grade, Lily needs to know why I'm looking, but I'm not just going first grade, Lily needs to know these different skills. I'm looking at Lily and going, okay, Lily, let me see what skills you know, and let me see how you can show me that you know these skills. And if she already knows skills that are in first grade, I'm going to push her and advance her in a different way. And I'm going to say, okay, Lily already knows um, her addition within 1 to 10. So now we're going to do addition through 20. Oh my goodness, Lily already understands addition within 20. Let's go ahead and do some repeated addition. And then now that she's done some repeated addition, let's introduce this concept of multiplication. Now, all of that is done through the work of the hand. It's all done with hands-on material, so Lily can manipulate what's going on and really make those connections with her brain, because we know that's how learning works with children. And so I'm not just saying, okay, because in first grade, Lily only needs to know how to add 0 to 10. I'm not stopping her there. I'm going, oh, she already came to me knowing that. This is how I'm going to carry her forward. And I'm not going to stop her because maybe Frederick is struggling adding 1 to 10. I'm not going to stop Lily from going on because somebody else isn't understanding that concept. What happens is Lily gets one-on-one lessons from me to help move her forward. And then Frederick, who maybe is struggling with that particular concept, gets one-on-one lessons from me too. And through that, he's able to progress, but maybe their progress is just a little bit different. And that's okay, because all students are different. And what I'm doing is looking at each student, their gifts and their struggles, and I'm adjusting what happens in the classroom for that. The other part of Montessori is, as I said, the hands-on materials. I have never been able to teach with hands-on materials in such depth and breadth as I am through Montessori. And it is amazing to see how it helps students understand concepts. I have a 6-year-old daughter who understands the concepts of all the operations of math because she was able to do it with hands-on material. She understands the concept of squaring and cubing at 6 years old because there's a Montessori material where you literally make squares and cubes from skip counting, or adding things adding the same number multiple times. So 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, you can make a square out of them. but you can make a square out of the two chain, which is multiple twos. And so my daughter has the concept of that, even though we haven't necessarily named it as squaring. But she understands the concept of if I add two multiple times, it can physically make a square.
Which is so important. I mean, as an educator myself, to know that it isn't just rote learning, that it is deep learning. It sounds like what you're saying is that Montessori learning is deep learning, that though they may not, your daughter has a foundation of conceptual versus just memorizing. And one last question about the Montessori. Can you explain a little about the benefits of, these sort of three grades together, and how that informs kids in their leadership and their sense of community as well as their learning?
Oftentimes I hear parents concerned that there's no grade level. So, oh, my daughter's 8. Is she going to be in third grade? Well, she's in the lower elementary classroom. And it's not like we never refer to children because they'll hear it in the outside as they should be in the third grade, or first grade or second grade. But the benefit of being in a having the 3-year span in the classroom is that students get practice being that different child in every classroom. So if you think about siblings, you have that firstborn, you have the middle child, and then you have the younger child. So students have a chance to practice being the younger child who maybe needs some additional support, and who maybe needs guidance in how to use materials. And so there's not only me in the classroom, but then there's other children who are functioning in that older child realm where they can help guide students there, which promotes leadership, and it gives children a sense of, yes, I can do this. So children always want to feel empowered, and that's a very empowering feeling that I can help a friend, that my friend relies on me to help understand what's going on in this classroom. And then there's sometimes a middle child where you're just in the middle and you're sometimes being a little bit more of a leader, and sometimes maybe you need a little bit more help. And so students get to experience all of that in a 3-year age span. And it happens at different times. So you may have a younger child who's more of a leader, who understands a concept in a different way, who can lead an older child. It happens frequently. So maybe a younger child is a little bit more naturally gifted in reading. And there's an older child who it's more effort for them. They can work together on something, and the younger child can feel empowered that I'm supporting my friend here. And it's a beautiful thing to see in the classroom.
What are you looking forward to for the beginning of next year? And I guess also, what are some of the lessons learned as you move to this next stage for you?
So I am looking forward to the students. The students always make what I do worth it. So I'm looking forward to the students that will be coming into the school, how I can work with them and their families to help them not only survive but thrive. I am looking forward to putting my training to use and just being able to touch children's lives. Lessons learned are make sure to show up. So I in the first, so this is my 3rd year. It's taken me 3 years to get here. But I showed up at every single thing that I was possible to show up at. I would sometimes tune in like right after school if my students were being dismissed. I was lucky to have an assistant, but while my students were being dismissed, I would tune in and like mute um, a Zoom meeting. Or 2 years ago, I went to Boston. That was an amazing experience. I got to meet all of these people that I just see in little boxes on the computer screen. I any sort of phone call that was happening, and I mean phone call, I mean Zoom call. I made sure to make it to every single Black Wildflower space that we had. I don't think I missed a single one until recently. Um, Make sure that you reach out and talk to people, because people are willing to help, but they can't help if they don't know that you need help. And it's they will do whatever they can possibly do. And then they may not be able to do everything, but definitely they can lend the listening ear. They can give you advice. They just I guess that's the biggest thing for me is, and that's the biggest thing that I see that some teacher leaders don't do is make sure to show up and ask for help and ask for advice, be vulnerable. Like you don't know it all. I know nothing. Like I was very honest with people. I was like, I don't know how to be an entrepreneur at all. So I'm going to need help there. And the help is there. So my biggest concern starting it was being an entrepreneur, dealing with the money. And Isabel has been a lifesaver. Like she truly made it so that I felt comfortable to be able to, take the finances underhand. So just reach out and ask and show up.
It's great advice. That is great advice in life and for opening schools. Thank you, Imani, for taking the time to meet. I know you've got so much going on. Congratulations for your beautiful school. It's so well deserved.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me.